Hello everyone, my name is Jasmine Love, and I'm here to talk to you all about cybercrime and how you can protect yourself from it. Cybercrimes are an ongoing threat, and if you read the FBI's cybercrime news page, you can find an article that has been published on the 12th of November of 2025. In that article, it reports that cryptocurrency scam compounds located in Southeast Asia have been defrauding Americans at an estimate of nearly $10 billion a year. It is said that these scam compounds are ran by victims of human trafficking who are being forced to commit cybercrimes. Their process begins with the sending of a fraudulent link via text, email, website, or DM through social media. As college students, we are exposed to the world that is the internet and social media, which ultimately makes us a target for attacks like these. I've taken online classes about cybersecurity from websites like jko.mil, and I have learned about what we can do to protect our sensitive information and to avoid falling for these sorts of scams. This speech aims to inform fellow students about cybercrime techniques that are committed in the US, as well as the measures one can take to protect themselves. I'll be covering the definition of a cybercrime according to the Texas Penal Code, how cybercrime is punished, two of the top most committed forms of cybercrime and how they relate to each other, who responds to cybercrimes, and safety tips that can protect personal information against attacks. So what defines a cybercrime? The Texas Penal Code, under Title VII, Offenses Against Property, Section 33.02, subsection A, states that a person commits an offense if the person knowingly accesses a computer network, or computer system without the effective consent of the owner. Subsection B-1 also says a person commits an offense if, with the intent to defraud or harm another, or alter, damage, or delete property the person knowingly accesses. And that includes computers, computer networks, or computer systems that are owned by a person, the government, businesses, and other commercial entities without their consent. A more general definition would be illegal activity that involves the use of computers, the internet, or network devices. So how is cybercrime punished? Given that there are many categories of cybercrime, the consequences vary amongst different states. However, there are federal acts such as the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, otherwise known as the CFAA, that prosecutes cybercrime. The maximum penalties that fall underneath this act would be 5 to 20 years in federal prison. Repeated offenses can result in fines and up to 20 years in prison. And in the state of Texas, it matters if the offense was committed with the intent or lack of intent to defraud or harm another person. If there is lack of intent, it is considered a Class B misdemeanor, which is punishable with a maximum fine of $2,000 and 180 days of county jail. If it is discovered that there was in fact intent to defraud or cause harm, the penalty depends on the amount of money involved. If the amount is under $100, the offense is a Class C misdemeanor, but it is possible for the amount to exceed $300,000, which is a first-degree felony. Now that we know exactly what defines a cybercrime and how it is punished, let's move on to the different types of methods that cybercrime involves. The first one being phishing. The number one ranked cyber threat in America is phishing. Phishing is a technique used by an attacker in an attempt to obtain sensitive information such as your social security number or bank account information, and it's typically carried out through texts, emails, websites that are camouflaged to seem like legitimate websites. Something everyone should be aware of is that attackers can purchase your information and find contact information from social media and other websites. Attackers can use methods like spear phishing, which is the gathering of information of specific individuals or businesses to generate the perfect attack. Clone phishing, which is the creation of a fraudulent email that is meant to appear like one you've received and opened before. Or they could use whaling, which are attacks designed for important executive users within companies or businesses. Once enough information is gathered, an attacker will create fake websites that are meant to look like real ones and disguise their hosting servers by changing their multiple IP addresses that fall under one domain rapidly. This is known as DNS fast flexing. A more recent technique is the use of AI to generate realistic responses, given that many legitimate websites also use fast answering chatbots. So fake websites use AI to sway a user from suspecting anything wrong with the website. The second most common form of cybercrime is identity theft. Much like phishing, it requires the gathering of an individual's private information. However, identity theft takes it a step further and actually applies that gathered information and uses it for their own benefit to make purchases or make money by selling your information. The attacker is essentially pretending to be you by providing required information like passwords to legitimate sites, obviously without your permission. Phishers may be more motivated to aim for easier and important targets, but because identity thieves can make quick money by selling information, everyone is a target. Data breaches as well as unsecure browsing make it most easy for identity thieves to access data such as full names and addresses without the need of passwords or authorization. Trusted internet browsers use encryption to protect your information, but unsecured browsers are much more hackable by those who really want your information. So we typically look to our law enforcement and criminal justice system, but since most cybercrimes are committed outside of the US, who has jurisdiction to take over? So within our states, reports can be made to police officers to start the process of an investigation by detectives. However, according to the Director of Government Relations for the state's law enforcement regulator, Gretchen Grisby, Texas officers are not required to learn much about cybercrime. So with that being said, the FBI Cyber has different authorities and partnerships in almost 20 countries to better respond to cybercrimes. The Cyber Action Team is quick to respond to major incidents, and there are cyber squads within the 56 field offices who are all specially trained to identify and respond to internet crimes. Another variable is you. You also have the responsibility of responding to a cyber attack by using the IC3, also known as the Internet Crime Complaint Center, which is a quick way for the public to make reports for internet crimes. If you are a victim of cybercrime, or if somebody you know is a victim, then definitely report it. By using this resource, you can help the FBI prevent more people falling victim to cybercrime. So now that we know who is in our criminal justice system that protects us, I want to talk about a few ways you can protect yourself. When creating an account for any reason, avoid reusing your passwords. It can be annoying to have several passwords to remember or having to type in a long combination of letters and numbers. However, securing your accounts is a strong method. Not only creating various and strong passwords, but also changing them frequently every year or so can help keep important accounts secure. Another method is being cautious of opening a file that you're not expecting to receive, especially if it's from an email or text. We talked about how these are mediums for phishing, so avoid previewing the file and shift your focus to the email or area code that the file was sent from. If you're sent a link, read the URL, and if you see that there's grammatical errors that may seem suspicious, don't click it. Be careful when joining public Wi-Fi networks. If you need to make an important purchase, try to save it for when you are back in an area with safer networks. Attackers don't always commit internet crimes in private areas, and they may be waiting for people to use public networks for important business. Lastly, be sure to always update your software and install a trusted antivirus program. The program will protect your identity as well as detect and block viruses before they can corrupt your personal data. Cybercrimes are often talked about, but many do not realize exactly how they are committed, nor how they could affect a victim. Awareness is the first step. Understanding the methods that attackers use to commit cybercrimes and who you can report said crimes to in the event where you do fall victim is just as important as taking steps to protecting yourself. With the knowledge of cybercrimes, be mindful of what you share on the internet and continue to do your own research about cybercrimes. Here are my references, and I hope you have a wonderful week.